very strange that I have a large nose, and I'll tell you why.
I guess you're privileged to have a big nose then, because you don't live in harsh conditions.
The habanero one? Holy fuck, dude. You know, maybe I've been treating this bike as some sort of parkour bike when really it's just a...
I once came face to face with a wild rhinoceros. That was pretty crazy.
I got stung by a bee once. And we're back.
And we're rusty, so give us a sec.
And it feels like we haven't done this in a month, but we've just missed 1 week. We missed it. We're sorry.
Did it, finally.
We had stuff to do. We could have done it.
Yeah. So
it
was
just
like
kind of slipped our minds a little bit too.
It slipped our minds, and then we both didn't want to mention it because everything was going so well.
That's the thing.
Everything was flowing like it should.
That's the thing.
We got a lot done.
Right.
And we didn't want to really break that. And so silently, we both knew about it.
Didn't want to say
I think
anything.
So.
I sporadically knew about it. I would forget, and then I'd be like, oh, right, we should do that. And then it was Thursday, and then it was Friday, and I was like, well, there's really no goddamn point now.
Yeah.
We'll just wait till. We almost didn't do one this week either.
We almost.
Which just shows, once you forget to do something once
it's so easy to not do the next time.
In your head, you're like, we don't need to. Okay, we'll just not do the podcast anymore.
It was the same with like the Instagram. We haven't posted Instagram in like every so often we have, but we used to post every single day, and then one day randomly we kind of just stopped.
Yeah.
And it's been like 2 months now.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to get back into it.
It's so easy to fall out of something, you know.
It is. You got to really keep it up.
Yeah.
Discipline's important, I think.
Which is annoying because it's like, it's not the same as like, you know, when you build a habit and you'll spend like 30 days doing something. It literally takes like 1 day to ruin that habit then.
A little bit.
You know?
Because then it's easier to justify the next time.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm not on a roll.
Yeah.
I'm not adding to my counter or whatever.
Okay. Well, let's start off here.
Let's do it.
We almost lost you to the Danish military. Would you care to explain?
Yeah, so apparently when you turn 18 and you live in Denmark, you have to go and you have to draw a number.
Correct.
To see if you...
They still draft citizens here, or there's a conscription.
Yeah, and most people are voluntary.
Right.
I don't even know what you call it. Voluntary...
officials?
Whatever that means when you go to the army.
Yeah.
So there's only a very small percentage of people who are forced by the government to go in and do it, but they do ask every single male who turns 18 to come in and do that. So it's like a full day where you have to go in and
what
get
did they have you
tested.
do?
I had to do an exam in Danish, which was the most frightening thing I've done in a while because
nervous?
I've never gone to school in Denmark or in Danish. I've never really learned how to write it or read it, but I mean, I can obviously speak it. So I'm not like completely...
I totally understand.
dumb
I feel a
at
little
it,
bit
but
like
it's
that about
like
German.
very intimidating to suddenly have to write stuff in Danish, and I'm like, I'm spelling all this stuff wrong.
Yeah.
But it was fine.
Yeah. Did they stick a finger up your ass?
No. They just had me stripped down to my underwear and just stand there and have the most awkward conversation with the doctor ever. It was just like out of a movie. He just started talking about something he'd read in the papers, and I'm like, dude, I'm just standing here. Why are you just do what you need to do so that I can like put my clothes back on. Anyways, I ended up drawing a number. I don't have to.
Well, I find this very interesting. So basically, you have to reach into, you know,
like an actual like barrel
bingo machine
that like spins around, and there's a bunch of little slips of paper in there.
Yeah, you reach in, and if you pick a certain kind of number, you would have to report to the army for what I read online was like 6 months to a year.
Then I am basically, it's very confusing because like I said, there's so many people who want to go and do it.
Right.
So they really don't need that many, but it's like law that everyone has to go in and do it.
Right.
So even if there's numbers between 0 and 35,000.
Okay.
If you draw underneath 8,000, you're a maybe.
Okay.
And that means you might be called upon.
Right.
If it's above that, there's no chance you would be called upon.
I see.
Even if you were in the 8,000 and you were a maybe, the chances of you actually being called upon would be tiny.
Right.
And even then, you could...
Because you'd have to be number...
Yeah, the lower, the more chance you'd have, right?
God,
so even
if you imagine the person that picked number 1.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. Anyways, I picked 34,500 and like the woman was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen a number that high." I was like, "Is that good? Don't say that."
Yeah,
that was
it does
weird.
get in your head. I was like, oh fuck.
That was a weird, like out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, oh, there must be, ways that you can, show them, oh, we're starting a business,
right?
Starting a family.
I'm sure there's something we could have done.
There's a lot that I'm doing right now. I'm not 18.
Yeah.
It's because I moved back.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't need to wear your funny little hats and march down the street.
Yeah. Although the whole thing, I think, had this been when I actually turned 18, I would have probably been very interested in it because I do like that whole, like the physical training and the boot camp stuff and the camaraderie and
wearing those funny hats.
I love those hats.
Yeah.
You know that.
If you don't know, every once in a while you'll be going down a Danish street and there's just like a marching band basically.
They
just slows down all the traffic. Yeah. They just march in the middle of the street. And you're like, great.
Showing off our arms, I guess.
And they wear hats very similar to the British, very tall, fuzzy hats. Yeah. And they're all like baby faced boys underneath it. And you're like, oh. So it's a funny thing to see. Okay, well I'm glad you didn't get drafted. Crisis averted. And then, the next thing is we've started editing Boris and Johan.
Sure have.
The editing has begun, and we ordered 1,800 stills.
Yeah.
Well, this is how it started, right?
Picture from every frame of the movie, or from every angle, basically, shot.
Every angle of a scene.
Yeah.
Right? And we ordered the pictures, and they goddamn arrive out of order.
Oh, my gosh. I've already forgotten about this.
1,800 photos.
Were just randomly packaged up.
Well, the weirdest thing was it wasn't random.
Yeah, it was like, kind of like categorized.
Right. You've got like an envelope basically that can hold, I don't know, 200 photos.
Yeah.
And so like one envelope would have like scene 61, 64, 65, 69, and 72 or something.
And like 48.
And 48. But then it wasn't like scene 48, 62. So they were all jumbled together as if someone had shuffled them,
Once.
Yeah,
like not
then put
not
them into
a lot.
the thing.
Yeah.
And then each one has these random, so basically there's no rhyme or reason, so it doesn't really help. I mean, it did help us originally sort of a little bit with like, okay, well, scene 62s, all of them go here, but you still have to organize.
You still have to look through every single one.
Right, which means we've touched every single photo, 1,800 photos, and I don't know how long we spent, like 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
Literally on the floor in the living room, like sorting.
I've just realized why I have like this something in my back.
A little bit
like
of a crink.
Yeah, like I kind of spasm sometimes.
Yeah.
And like when I lean in my chair, I'm like, ooh, what is that? And like, that's from that.
Yeah, dude.
It's kinda, we're just crouched over those stills.
Holy
and
fuck.
Crawling around
it
for
just
7
made
hours.
no sense to me because there's no logical way they would end up in that order. Do you know what I mean? It literally felt like, and I contacted the company. I was like, hey, everything's out of order. This took us like 7 hours to order. And the reason I wasn't upset, but I was a little bit frustrated was I'd already spent like 2 hours organizing the file names.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, amazing. These are all in order. They're just going to print off the roll, right? Or maybe I thought, okay, maybe it's sort of a thing where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Sort of there's a reason to like, they all got printed on a sheet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. And
That
I was
would've
like,
been fun.
oh, it's fine. It'll be perfect. And then it just very clearly wasn't.
Fucking rhyme or reason. It felt like they had one massive stack and like an intern accidentally knocked it over and was like, oh shit. And he just started taking piles, like handfuls, and putting them back in the envelopes.
Oh, man.
It was next level, but it made the payoff so much better because hopefully we'll put on Instagram soon. We've got 6 cork boards full of these stills. So basically right now it seems like 1 to, I don't know, 16 or something.
Yeah.
On these cork boards, and it just looks insane.
Yeah, you can see your movie.
You can literally watch the movie from
stills.
left to right. It's like you're like reading it basically,
Yeah.
you know? And
It's like reading a book. It's exactly what it feels like. Because
Right.
you're even like in the next line and the next line, you can follow along. It's
Yeah.
like you could.
And it really helps. I mean, while we're editing, we've been going out there.
I'm
And you
looking
just
at it.
kind of stand there and you're like, okay, so that's kind of where we're heading. Ah, okay, that makes sense. And in a weird way, it really helps you piece together
It does.
a scene and get the pacing of a scene right and know kind of the direction that you're going in before, what comes before and what comes after, which is obviously super important.
Yeah.
About like how you're going to edit the scene that you are editing. Yeah.
I feel like even the fact that we had to organize them, aside from it being very satisfying once we were done, we put a lot of work into it. I felt like in another way, it also kind of gave some kind of visual quality to what we were about to edit, because you could see like scene 59 or whatever it is like 300 photos.
Yeah.
But scene 4 is like 1 photo.
Exactly.
And it gave you this weird graph kind of where you could picture how dense different parts of the movie were.
Exactly.
How many shots and how quick the editing would be in those scenes. And it very interesting.
Exactly.
Something we would have never seen.
So
had we not had to do that.
Just so that everyone knows, I think we probably mentioned this before, but we we borrowed this, we stole this from the one and only Walter Murch. And if you're into editing, Walter Murch is an editor. He's the only person, I believe, that has ever won the Oscar for editing and sound design simultaneously for the movie The Conversation, which is pretty insane. He also worked on The Godfather Part 3. He worked on...
And Part 2.
Yes, but I'm not sure if he edited Part 2.
Oh.
I thought he did, but now as I'm reading the book, I don't know. He worked on Unbearable Lightness of Being. He worked on... Apocalypse Now.
He edited that whole thing.
Exactly. He recut Touch of Evil in '99, which was the Orson Welles movie.
Okay.
That was originally Orson Welles turned in the rough cut for that movie. The studio freaked out and immediately, I don't know what they did. Mm-hmm. And someone else tried to cut it again. And then finally in '99, when Orson Welles was already dead, Walter Murch picks it up and edits, I believe, the film that we know today. And that's been sanctioned by his daughter and the family of Orson Welles, and this is what he wanted, and blah blah blah. And it's of course he did, because it's Walter fucking Murch.
Yeah, this guy's a pretty big deal for nerds.
Yeah, he's pretty great, And you should definitely read In the Blink of an Eye.
Yeah, so that's the book.
Duo.
That, I've now read it 2.5 times, and you're on your second read.
Yeah, but I studied it in school, so I don't know how many times I read it back then.
I mean, the first time I read it was also as a study.
Yeah.
It's very short, but it's so
right.
packed with just great ideas regarding editing, like what it means and what it doesn't mean and what works and what doesn't work.
It's essentially,
but it's not telling you what to do, which is the best part.
And he makes that very clear. He says, this is what works for me.
Yeah.
Right? Take from it what you want and create your own sort of process, which is obviously, like with everything in life, kind of like, you never want someone to tell you 100% how to do something or have this like idol that you're like, I'm going to do exactly this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it exactly the way he did.
You're not copying anything.
No. And you got to learn for yourself. Why does that work? Why,
I think his main idea, at least the main thing I get from it, is that you need to connect with your film or the footage in as many different ways as possible. So stuff like printing out all the stills and you being able to read the film, like that is one way of doing it. And seeing like the graph of all the photos turned upside down, so we couldn't actually see any stills, but we could just purely see how many shots were in this scene.
Exactly.
Is another way of doing it.
Exactly.
Watching through all the footage and making notes on each thing as you go along in a notebook is another way.
And you're pulling, as you're pulling these, because you don't need the corkboards for every scene.
No.
Some of the scenes I just kind of flip through. I'll have all the pictures in my hand and I'll flip through them.
Yeah.
And you'll naturally kind of pair photos together that would have never been paired together in the edit.
Yeah.
But it's like, I had one on my table from the previous edit and now I have this one, and it's like visually you're starting to put things together. It's very good for like motifs and like thematic things of how you piece things together.
I want to talk about the movie so bad.
I know, we can't talk about it too much, but
there's so many great things.
It's been going really well.
It's been such a crazy transition from doing like action-packed Instagram videos, to suddenly like watching 20 takes of the same thing, and just getting into the real deep underlying meanings and things of every single little thing. Yeah, it's so much more fun.
Because what was also interesting is, again, I'll go back to In the Blink of an Eye. He kind of explains that for Apocalypse Now, I think he worked on the movie for 9 to 12 months, And he said if he took the finished movie, the edit, he worked on it for longer than that because he did the sound design and everything then after.
But just purely
for the editing.
Yeah.
If you calculated it afterwards and said, well, how many cuts did I really make per day? He said it came out to 1.5 cuts a day.
Yeah.
Which he's like, it takes me 8 seconds to do 1.5 cuts, which shows you how much of editing is not cutting the footage. It's like trying this out, trying that out. Us fucking arguing with each other, debating things like, what does the character want in this? All that is really, to me, what the editing is about and what makes a film good. Anybody can cut the footage right at the right moment. That's a very technical sort of skill. But everything that surrounds that, all the times that you don't cut, right? He says you decide not to cut 23 times in a second. Going, no, yes.
There you go.
Right. All of that is just fascinating to have studied it, to have learned about it, and now to actually be doing it.
And I feel like we're also just coming up with ways of looking at the stuff that I haven't read about. I'm sure it's out there somewhere and someone else has come up with it too, but like independently of that, 100%. I feel like we're realizing that, it makes sense to...
We've got our own systems going.
Have all these different things going on at the same time. You should see our office at the moment. It's full of Post-it notes and our whole door is just
we both have notebooks
with
packed
scene numbers and it's great.
It's really fun. And the other sort of visual thing that I just kind of put together today, which I hadn't really thought about, is I went back through some of my photos and I found
some of the stills or photos of what? Just
life
photos.
In general.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I found when I was writing the script, I had laid out everything on index cards to write the script.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's so fucking bizarre to see this exact same grid format of like literally things came from my head as ideas, wrote down onto an index card, and now that index card is like a real thing with real people in it. And it's been filmed and there's a photo of it.
Yeah.
And it's in the exact same spot as the
on
index
a
card,
corkboard.
which it would have been like, just thinking about it like a year or two ago writing that thing, it's like, how fucking bizarre is that? How weird is life that you can
just do
these weird things? Yeah. You can think about something and it can become this reality in a weird way. It's fucking bizarre.
It is.
I mean,
it's a very literal way of looking at the law of attraction. It's kind of the same thing.
Don't get me started on that.
No. Did that on purpose. Moving on.
No, but I don't know. It's just the whole process is very satisfying. It's we're not going quite as quickly as I had hoped, but then again, I don't really know what I was hoping for. So
it's been a little bit tough to not have to do other businessy things,
right?
Here and there,
right? And because we have such a small amount of time, that also comes back to why we didn't do the podcast last week, is because it's very hard. This time is so valuable to us that it's very hard to be like, let's take 2 hours and do something else.
Yeah.
When it does kind of feel like a countdown a little bit, like, oh, we've only got, literally, I think we've got like 8 days left.
Yeah.
To edit, right?
It goes nowhere.
And we were like, we started with 21, but we're really only on edit day 5.
Yeah.
It's like, where the fuck did all those days go? And it's because business things come up, and you gotta
deal with it.
As much as I'd love to be able to edit for 21 days
undisturbed.
It's just like, it's just not possible. But that's also fine, because in many ways it makes me more excited when we finally do sit down and work for fucking 10 hours straight on this thing. We're both fucking so excited when we work on it. It's hard to step away from the computer at the end of the day. Even on Sundays, we took one Sunday off. It was like,
on purpose.
I had to go to a museum to like get my mind out. I don't go to fucking museums. That's not me. I was like, I can't just sit at home and think about this thing. I gotta like go do something.
But I do think that even the times when we're not working on it, it is
100%.
It is working in our heads, and we are coming up with ideas that once we then start on it, boom,
right,
it's there,
right,
we can do it.
And we've both said now, having watched the footage, right, I feel like it could have been, we watched the footage and it's like, fuck,
we really gotta fix this thing.
This is terrible, right? We've both agreed that the potential is there.
The potential's there.
If we make a bad film,
it's up to the editing.
Completely on us.
Yeah. Well, obviously, but like even if there's
still some hard parts coming up, But just having watched it, like a wave of relief. Because I remember watching the footage quite soon after we had shot.
Yeah, like a couple weeks after.
Right. And it's just, I would just have like these panicky sort of like runs through the footage because I just couldn't like bear to like find a shot that in the moment we said, great, that's a take, we'll move on. And that panicky feeling of, in hindsight, you're going to be like, fuck, there's this massive issue that nobody caught and blah, 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 blah. Or even the, what was the other thing that came up? Watch the footage. Oh, or that you would be like, oh my God, we forgot to back up day 6. You know, in the craziness of everything, one SD card kind of got put away because we didn't have a DIT or whatever it's called, and fuck, all this footage is gone, and we're gonna have to reshoot or everything. So, all the footage is there, it's all usable, everything is what it should be, and now it really is up to us.
So if we were, let's pretend like we had nothing to do with the writing or the production, and then we're just the editors.
Yeah.
If the film isn't good, it's because of the editing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to realize how obviously production is. It's hard to even make a comparison, but so many times now, and even in Walter Murch's book, like on the back, it's like a lot of directors agree that the editing really makes or breaks the film.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah,
because you can give the same footage to do 2 different editors, and literally have 2 completely different movies.
Yeah.
One could be like a action drama. You could have different genres of movies based on that, which is crazy to suddenly realize how much. And I think I kind of knew that because I've done it quite a lot just for work and stuff. But it's like the more you do it, the more you realize, like, Jesus Christ. You know?
If we had an infinite amount of time, it would be so much fun to edit the film as a horror movie and then edit it as a comedy.
It's like that whole thing where the guy took The Shining and turned it into a Disney sort of trailer, you know? And it's just the tone of something, just how much control you have over it. It's all very interesting. We won't keep on rambling about it.
But that is what is occupying our minds right now.
Exactly, which is also why this will probably be a short podcast, because obviously there's a lot of things we would want to talk about, but
we're going to save it.
Yeah. So we also just finished our last commercial shoot for 2018.
Yeah, and finished editing it today.
We might.
It's another thing we then had to spend today doing some editing for that.
Exactly,
because it needed to be done.
Exactly, and it's just satisfying. This year has been so satisfying, and I just want to run through, because I just wrote all this down, what we did.
Oh no!
Since I got here.
Okay.
So this is also
everything we did, or everything commercial.
Everything, not everything we did. No, pretty much everything we did.
Oh God.
Which puts into perspective, like, God damn, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, wait, how long are we talking?
We're talking when I arrived, which means we did 3 podcast episodes before I arrived, for example, not counting those, right?
And when did you arrive? You arrived on like 19th of June or something?
Something like that, yeah.
That's 6 months.
Right.
You've been here half a year.
I know. Crazy.
Does it feel like...
No.
It feels...
Well, it does.
It doesn't... And if you think about certain things, it feels like, yeah. It's been that long.
Because usually it's like, oh, fuck, 6 months have gone by and I haven't done anything. That's usually the feeling, you know? Now it's like, but well, let's go through it and we'll see what we've done in the last 6 months.
Okay.
All right. We did a YouTube trailer, okay? We did for our channel. We did a promo video for our company. We did 9 YouTube episodes. We did 23 podcast episodes. This will be our 24th.
Yeah.
We did 2 editing challenges. We did 1 VFX tutorial. We did 1 video for a hot air balloon company.
Yeah.
We did 1 video for an event/talk on the body. We did a video for a cafe. We did a video for a quote-unquote life coach. We did a video for a 2-day technology event. We did a video for a music bunker. We did 4 videos so far for a vegan restaurant as a campaign. We did... Well, the 5th one is coming out later this week.
We've done it.
Okay. We've done 5 videos for a vegan restaurant campaign. We've done 2 videos for a rock climbing gym. And we've done a music video for an artist. And now we are doing a rough cut for a feature film, of which we have probably cut around 26 scenes.
And we did an event for the same life coach that you mentioned we did a video for.
Exactly.
We did another video.
That hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. That does sound like a lot. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That doesn't sound like that much now. Does that sound like a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, when I was reading, when I was putting it down, I was like, holy fuck, 9 YouTube episodes, 23 podcast, like 23 podcast episodes. It's like 23 hours of goddamn podcasting.
Just talking.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into, like, that doesn't turn into a video. So it's not just.
Well, these are also all, we should explain, these are videos.
These are just final videos.
These aren't like, a little bit of an Instagram story or something, or just a little cut together. You know, Gintank was technically 2 videos, but I'm just counting it as one because it's one like full promo video. So yeah, it just feels good to have done the last commercial shoot. Now we can just focus on the feature film until you leave for Christmas on the 21st.
And we're gonna pick it right back up when we get back.
2018 is done and over with, and it's exciting. I really don't, the only thing I've left is to kind of talk about how the bet's going.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of give an update.
Yeah, bet's going good. What is it? It's like week 5 for me. So I've done 4 full weeks of working out 6 times a week. I'm in my 5th week. Yeah, I'm definitely.
You feeling it?
The other day in the gym when I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And you were like, I'm feeling so strong. I've never felt stronger in my life. Sometimes we take breaks and come back, I'm so strong. And I was like, but it's so good. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. It's forcing me to do those workouts when it's just a little hard. Like, we had a long day, we finished late.
Yeah.
And normally I'd be like, there's a good reason not to do it. So I was saying when our SD card ran out of juice that, when you run, so I do a lot of running, but then I didn't run because I had a knee thing, and you just lose it.
Like we were just talking about.
What do you mean?
That thing, you can do something for so long, but it can take a little bit of time off.
Basically when you're training for long distance running, a big part of it is training your mental game, which I feel like you don't lose. Yeah. Like if you've done it once, you got that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's like a skill to be able to control your thoughts when you're kind of suffering, and you can figure out a way past the pain. But your body physically isn't used to burning that many calories.
Right.
And so a big part of it is like low blood sugar. And that's probably not the right term, but your body just gets physically exhausted when it's running. It was like I could easily run like a half marathon when I was training right up to my marathon. It was like running half was easy. I was trying to see if I could do 2. 18 is obviously like 3 kilometers less than a half marathon, but that was like, oh my God. Holy. I got back and I was just like, I need to eat everything. Like all the candy I can find. And, yeah. And then reading, going well as well.
Got that down.
Doing a lot of audiobooks. It's pretty much 80% audiobooks. And then the last 20% is reading before I go to bed.
Okay.
So that's good. Reading like about mountaineering stuff. It's like I'm reading like a textbook, which is like an interesting way of reading. Yeah. It's great. I love it. It's got so many pictures and like.
It is satisfying to look into when you showed me.
Yeah. There's so many things. Anything you want to know, just look it up in there.
Yeah. That's interesting. Is that kind of how you use it, or are you kind of reading it?
No. I don't use it. Read it back to back.
Right.
I want to know about traversing glaciers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that chapter now. I want to know about how to set up an anchor in ice.
Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I used to, as a kid, I would like pick up the dictionary and I'd be like,
yeah, you could go.
Oh yeah, hello. Phoebe Brewster, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, okay. turn up the volume.
So how's your bet going?
It's going very good. It's at first I was bored a lot.
Remind what your bet is.
I'm just not drinking and not smoking weed and not using any social media. Or I should clarify that means no YouTube, no wimp.com, no Facebook,
wimp.com,
and no Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. There's other forms of social media, but I don't use them to begin with, so
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've had some very interesting conversations about like things you've said after you like stopped drinking, which you weren't doing because you felt like you had a problem or anything.
Right.
Just purely because you wanted to like try not doing that and seeing what else would come.
Well, I should say I didn't think I didn't have a problem, but I was drinking every night. Right. So judge for yourself whether that's a problem or not. Personally, I didn't think that was a problem.
I guess it depends on how much.
Right, exactly. It was more just that it's with anything, that's when I want to stop something is when it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And that habit doesn't need to necessarily be something like, oh, this person's falling apart, but like everyone has little habits that they probably don't realize, that they have. And it's like, if you can just kind of pinpoint those, be like, let me stop that for a little while and just see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
For example, every time I stop watching YouTube and I come back, right?
Yeah.
I'll be like, why the fuck was I watching this show?
Yeah.
It was almost something that just became, oh, well, for whatever reason that came up in my recommended. So I started watching it and then I would just watch it, every week it came out or something. And then when you stop watching and come back, you're like, what? I don't even like this. I was literally just filling up my day.
It becomes an unconscious choice.
Right. But it gives you dopamine still because it's this weird thing of like, oh, there's a new episode out this week.
Yeah.
But it's something that I don't give a fuck about. I really don't. And I can only kind of see that once I've stepped away from it and come back and be like, well, this is stupid. Nothing against them. It's just like, why was I watching this to begin with?
That's interesting.
The same thing with Instagram or Facebook. And basically the ways I was spending my nights, was very much, I wanted to shut off kind of from work. And I think something I kind of found was that I used to, I don't want to say I hated my job or anything, but I used to have work and then kind of my passion, right?
Yeah.
So I'd go to work and then I'd come home. And when I was home, the thing that could kind of motivate me is like, I'm going to write my film or I'm going to do, this passion project of mine. And now that my work, this is going to sound so fucking cheesy, but my work is my passion, right? Suddenly I come home, I don't have a passion anymore to be focused on, Yeah. I don't have something motivated like, yes, I'm home. Now I can do the thing that I really want to be doing.
Yeah, I've been doing it all day.
I've been doing it for 12 hours all day. Now I'm coming home and I'm a little bit lost as to what I should be doing.
Uh-huh.
And I don't really want to start a new project because I know what that's going to do to me. And I want to very specifically like finish this film before even thinking about starting anything else. So I was just in a little bit of a I called some friends and was just kind of like, I need some hobbies or something to do. And I think, drinking every night, again, kind of just made me not see that I really wasn't doing anything at night. Because I was having, I was completely fine to be by myself and enjoy a beer and watch some YouTube and go to bed.
Yeah.
Whereas as soon as you took away the beer and the YouTube, it's just me sitting on a couch like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So that's
so what do you do?
Interesting. Now I come home, I've turned it. I think I've found I'm a person who, if I start to do, I go a little bit crazy with it. So I've literally done this since the bet every single night.
Okay.
Is I'll come home.
Yep.
I'll decide what I need to cook.
Yeah.
Right. And that'll determine whether I need to go to the grocery store or if I already have what I need. And this is probably around 8:00. Right. Then I'll cook for myself and I cook. I listen to a podcast. I talk to my roommate, whatever. Then I eat and I eat.
Oh yeah, go ahead. What do you do while you eat? Do you just sit and eat, or are you listening to something? Or?
I sit and eat, or I listen to a podcast.
Okay.
Problem is, my computer doesn't have a battery, so it's very centered to the table on the couch. So I would never move my computer because it's too much of a pain in the ass for me to
unplug everything.
Exactly. So I don't even deal with that, which I like. So then I eat my food and I kind of eat in, peace and whatever. Then I will put my dishes in the sink and I won't wash them yet, right? Because I've just eaten and I feel very and I've been trying to eat a lot too, because I'm trying to, as always, gain a little bit of weight, keep the old bones fleshy, as they say. And so I'll put them in the sink and then I'll make myself a tonic water.
Oh, right? Yeah.
This has been
We're drinking tonic waters, by the way.
This has been my savior, is the tonic water, figuring that out. Yeah. Because what I really liked about the beer is that it's something that you sip, right? So, and I have a problem with oral fixation, so I like to constantly kind of be doing something with my mouth, right? So that's really helped with that. So I'll make a tonic water, I'll sit down, and I'll decide a movie that I want to watch, right? So then I sit down, I watch my movie, and towards the end of the movie, I'll go, okay, I need to make a tea now, right? For whatever reason. So 20 minutes before it ends, I pause it, I get the kettle going, and then make myself a tea.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'll drink a tea as the movie finishes. And then the movie finishes, and I'm like, all the movies I've been watching have been really good. Then I go on IMDb. I look up the movie.
I've noticed that you know a lot of trivia about every movie you talk about or you watch. I'm like, do you research all these films before? This is answering my questions.
Yeah, I'm going on IMDb only to star it and put it in my folder of movies that I've watched, right? So I have a running list now of movies that I watch.
Yeah.
But then obviously I get sidetracked while I'm on IMDb, and I'm like, who's this director? Or if it's a movie that I think I won't like, or maybe a movie that I don't like, I'll be like, this motherfucker, I gotta look him up, see what he's all about, And I'll see the other movies he made, and I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I don't like that either. Or I'll watch something and I'll be like, wow, this is really good. He must have, and I'll look it up and I'll be like, oh fuck, he edited this documentary, Abstract on Netflix, and I'm like, that totally makes sense that this is a really good, well put together thing. Anyways, then I'll do the IMDb. Then I will go and do the dishes.
Okay.
Right, to sort of I don't know why, but I really after the movie, I don't really want to go to bed yet.
Yeah.
So I put on podcast again, do my dishes. And then I'll sit down, I'll read a little bit of Walter Murch, read a little bit of Infinite Jest if I feel like it.
What's that?
It's David Foster Wallace. Wow, I sound like such a douche right now probably, but
no, you don't.
And then I'll either shower and go to bed or just go to bed.
Nice.
And that's my whole routine. I've literally done that without even trying. What day is it today? When did I start? So it's been 12 days. And that's all I do. And I love it.
The fact that you're going home and watching films and listening to podcasts, and I know that you're not watching crap on YouTube or just sitting around not really doing anything,
right,
is having an effect on what I choose to do as well.
Right.
It's good. But I'll still watch maybe a YouTube video here and there.
Yeah.
But I'll also try and watch a film or a documentary.
Yeah.
Or spend more time reading, or
it's a weird
do the dishes and listen to a podcast.
Yeah, you just don't feel like shit at the end of the day,
Yeah,
not that I felt like shit, but if you watch a bunch of stuff that you're isn't really adding anything to your life,
you
just feel a little bit blobby at the end of the day,
Why is it that it's sometimes hard to do the things that you actually want to be doing?
I don't know. Because my brain is so good at convincing myself, right? I'll be like, nah, you should just smoke this joint and go on a walk outside or something, right? And for whatever reason, I'll be like, yeah, that's really going to help me in my career. I'll see something weird outside and that'll give me the experience, blah, blah, blah. And still, going outside and going on walks is great. But then you also, the flip side is smoke a joint and you're like, nah, actually, I'm just going to stay inside and watch this shit, whatever.
Yeah.
And I can also convince myself that YouTube somehow gets me closer to this generation, what this generation is thinking about, and gives me an insight into, watching a lot of that, understanding sort of contemporary humor or kind of what's very funny at the moment or and it's yeah, a little bit of that is probably good, but for whatever reason, it's only until you stop doing it that you're like, oh, I was just kind of lying to myself a little bit, or I'm just good at convincing myself that no matter what I do, it's somehow I can spin it in a way. You kind of
have to, right? I think that's a normal thing for anyone to do.
It's the same way when people are like, oh, I drink before a date because I'll be funnier. And I think everybody kind of knows, like, it's probably not true. I mean, you're just as interesting of a person with or without having drank before.
Yeah.
But you totally get in your head, and then, you know, it's probably not until you do it a couple times without kind of doing that, you're like, oh, why did I think that? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so it's really worth just breaking a couple of habits just for the heck of it.
Totally. And I think, you know, I'm very into this whole, like, you don't need to have a massive problem or whatever to stop doing something. You can do something that even maybe you think is beneficial and just see what that does to you, you know, so that you can maybe reappreciate why you're doing it in the first place. Because you can forget, like, I have good habits that I'll forget why I'm doing them. And it's like, I don't know, don't do it for 2 days and you're like, oh, right, that's why.
It gives you an appreciation for what you're taking away as well.
Yeah. Like the dishes, you know. That's something I used to... I've said this a couple times now, which is weird. I used to beat myself up so much that, like, I wasn't a tidy person. And that I had these little, like, quirks that didn't quite align with who I wanted to be. And I was trying to drill myself so hard into doing it, but it never worked. I would always do it for, like...
Into being an organized, neat person.
Yeah, or, like, there's a lot of things like that, right? Where you're just trying to change who you are sort of fundamentally, or, you know, and you kind of go, okay, well, I'm just going to wake up every day at 5 a.m. and if I just do it long enough, I will become that person.
Okay.
The weird thing I've been finding is that these things that I tried to change about myself like 2-3 years ago are now suddenly slowly changing without me making any effort at all.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like well, now I do the dishes because it's just annoying.
Yeah.
When there's a bunch of dishes and everything's dirty, like I just don't like it.
It's the same.
So I don't have to convince myself to do it. I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to do those right now.
That's literally the only thing. Makes you feel better.
But I also don't even think that. It's just like, well, this is the only thing.
Right.
Of course I have to do this. But I was like, I think we have more power over... We just expect ourselves to change very quickly.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be careful with what you're thinking, because it does kind of, in the end... You know, all those things that I wanted to change 2 or 3 years ago, changing now, I'm like, what the fuck? It's like this weird, like, it took me subconsciously 2 years to kind of get there. Or maybe it's just a part of maturing, and I wasn't quite there yet at the time. But these weird things, it's like that whole, like, be careful what you wish for, you know?
Yeah.
What you do think will kind of manifest itself a little bit.
Law of attraction.
Yeah. I think we believe in the same things. I just don't, you know, call it magic or whatever.
I don't call it magic either.
I'm just joking.
But there's also, you know, I think sometimes we'll say something like, I want to get up at 5 a.m. because I want to be a certain type of person. I want to be seen as a certain type of person.
Right.
I want to feel like I am that kind of person without really knowing why or what that means.
Right.
And then it takes the realization of what is that actually going to do for me? Or why is that important?
Yeah.
And if you have this vague idea of it, it becomes very difficult to make it something you do. And maybe it's not what you want to do. So
exactly.
I think it does take time.
Specifically with the 5 a.m. thing is something that was very...
Yeah, you wanted to be the kind of guy who gets up before everyone else.
Right. And now I'm like, you know, for me, now I've been getting up every day at 8. For me, that's early. Right. Now everyone's going to be like, oh, 8 o'clock, that's so late. To me, that feels early, okay? I comfortably kind of wake up after like 10 hours of sleep. That's just who I am.
Some people need more sleep.
10 hours of sleep. But now... You know, we kind of were like, when we were starting to edit the feature film, like, hey, we don't have a lot of time. So it came from me, and I was like, I want us to have a schedule, and every day we start at 9 and we end at...
I wanted that too.
Right.
But yeah, it did. You were the first one to say it. And I was kind of...
Well, I knew that's what you wanted. I was the one who was originally pushing against having any sort of schedule, right?
Yeah.
But the weird thing, again, is that it's not me beating myself up in the morning to wake up. For whatever reason now, my alarm goes off, and I'm like, I feel awake, and I don't know what's changed, right? I couldn't tell somebody, this is how I did it. This is how I changed myself. I have no fucking clue. Obviously, it's something I like to do during the day now, so I wake up, and I'm like already kind of thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And I've told you all I really need to do is like roll out of bed and get on my bike. And that's all it takes for me to make my way to your place.
It's a very specific single thing that you need to do.
Exactly.
It's not a bunch of not that waking up and doing a bunch of things is complicated, but it's not a sequence of stuff that needs to be taken care of. It's one thing that has to happen.
For example, if I said I want to do yoga every morning, that
and then read and then meditate
in my bed to yoga and exactly all those things. Between all of them, I can decide, well, I'm just not going to do that today.
It's a big commitment all of a sudden.
Right. Whereas like getting on a bike,
one thing.
As soon as I'm out the door, as soon as I have my rain pants on, it's like, I'm not taking these off again. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I just got they're so annoying to get on over my boots. I always forget that I'm supposed to put my pants on first and then my boots. Every fucking morning. This is again me with habits. It's so very hard for me to change that. Like if I put my boots on first and I do it on the couch, right? So I put my boots on and I'm like, God damn it, I gotta put my rain pants on.
Yeah.
And
but I mean, it also sounds like you have a very good night routine that puts you in, you're going to have better sleep afterwards. So that probably adds to it as well.
But it came naturally. That's the weird thing again. I didn't set that up. That was something that just happened.
But you chose to.
And now I've done it for 12 days. It's the only thing I can possibly do.
But you did say to yourself, okay, I'm going to not go on social media and not drink anything.
Right.
And it led you to coming up with these new things because you were bored out of your mind.
Yeah.
And
I really was. I was calling people. I was like, should I start carving wood? Should I start?
Oh my God.
I was just trying to like figure stuff out. I was like, what do I do? It's all this free time.
Yeah.
And it's not that much free. I mean, it's like, you know.
Yeah, it's like a couple hours.
Everyone has 2 hours at the end of the day. And it's like, well, what do you do with those 2 hours? And I felt like when I was on social media and all that stuff, I felt like I didn't have that much time. Because it eats little bits of your time. You know, it's like you're just spending 5 minutes on something. But then you spend 5 minutes on 3 things. That's 15 minutes. Okay, well, I could have watched a TV show in that time, you know, good. Or like a little informational piece on something. Or could have read a chapter or...
But it's so easy. And it doesn't take any effort. That's why it's very important to just consciously break that a little bit.
Yeah. And, you know, I never want to tell people how to live their lives. But something that's been helpful to me is there's this site blocker extension on Chrome, right? And you can manually you can very easily undo the sites that you've blocked, right? Because a couple times I've called you and I've been like, hey, I need to go on YouTube, because we use YouTube for sound effects.
Some
sound effects. And some like free visual overlays and all that sort of stuff, like royalty free stuff, right?
Yeah.
So obviously there's times where I still need to go on it.
Yeah.
And then you can manually kind of take off the site off of the extension and use it. But it's like, I'm interested in keeping it almost for afterwards, because it just, you know, it's so easy to open up Chrome, hit F and enter. Yeah, I did that like 3 times the first day where I was trying to stop. I would just open up and go, da-da, and it would go like, site blocked. And I was like, I didn't even think that I wanted to go there. It was just such a natural, like, you know, this thing, or like Y enters YouTube, right? And it was like these automatic sort of like tendencies that you have. It's true. I don't know if I'm the only one, because I've talked to some people.
Because I've had that too.
Right. But some people are like, oh, I don't have a problem with YouTube or social media the way that you do. And I'm like, I think I have an addictive personality.
You got to define what problem means, first of all, because that's just such a blanket statement.
Right.
Is that the right term? Blanket statement, something that covers just way too much.
Yeah, it's good.
Like, it's not specific enough.
Yeah.
Problem, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Could it be better? Almost always.
I guess, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But is it important? Maybe not. But
yeah,
I think there's varying degrees, and everyone could take a little bit away from just questioning. Just questioning a little bit.
Right. What do you do? Why do you do it at night? Again, even if it's, you know,
or in the morning,
you read for 5 hours, and people might say that's great. That's all you know. Well, if you stop it, like, again, it's just interesting to see what else would you do.
Would there be? Yeah.
Yeah. Has your bet kind of shown you anything, or just further sort of?
No, I mean, my bet has definitely been something that I know I get a lot out of, and I just want to do it more than I have been doing.
Right.
But I mean, there has been times when I've had to do a workout when I really didn't want to, and I just don't want to go and do a 2.5 hour climbing session or go out and run.
Right.
Where I've been, okay, I have to do something else, so I'm going to do yoga. Yeah. Something I've done before, but I've gotten into a little bit of a routine of doing that like once a week, which is a lot more than I've ever done.
Yeah.
And it's challenging. And I normally wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So I guess I have picked up a little bit. But no, it for me, the challenge has been about reaffirming what I already feel like I know.
That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
By the way, if anybody, we've been struggling with this for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
Or maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What was the whole thing about like when a character does something that is...
Oh God, this is going to be so confusing.
How can we explain this?
There's a word we're looking for. It's like I don't want to say it's a film term.
Yeah.
It's definitely a term used within...
It's basically like, oh, the character was justified in picking up this tangerine peel because it was kind of set up. That's such a bad example, but there's a word instead of justified.
Right. Imagine this. You've got a 10-season series about a zombie apocalypse, and you've got all these characters, all these complex storylines, and at the end, the director, the writer, whoever is in charge decides to put into the series, oh, it's all just a dream.
Right.
None of it happened.
Right.
Boom. Shock everyone.
Right.
It's crazy. None of this ever happened. That is so not something.
Yeah. Not justified, not earned.
You didn't earn that unless you had like placed hints throughout the entire season that when it happened, you'd be like, oh, right. That's what all those things were. It makes sense.
Right.
If it just feels like a gimmick or a way to kind of get around something or a way to shock people or a way... You can't...
It's the same way an actor will sometimes ask you like, why is my character doing this? And you kind of need to justify what leads up to that, right? But there's a fucking word for it that we can't think of.
Yeah, so if anyone knows what that word is, it's not a hard word. It's not like a complicated word. Maybe it is just one of the words we've been using.
I don't think so. I think there's a very specific word that has been bothering me. Anyways.
Yeah.
What's up, boy?
I think
that's
a wrap.
Yep. And we will see you
next week.
Well, let's real quick. We're gonna do next week,
and then we might take a day off. All right,
we might take a week off
for Christmas.
Yeah,
because we're not gonna be together.
No, and then we will be together for New Year's, so we'll try to maybe do one on the mountain or something.
Do a podcast on the mountain,
and then we'll be back in Jan 2019.
Burning Boat 2019. See you then.